Hello and welcome to this fresh edition of the African Press Review on Global LTV. We begin in Cameroon with the Sun newspaper, which focuses on the 2025 Finance Bill. The paper titles Parliament Project 2025 Finance Bill records 0.59 increase. The paper goes further to say general budget stands at 7,250 billion francs CFA, while that of special appropriation account is at 66.9 billion francs CFA. You can read more about this bill on page 2 of this edition of the Sun newspaper. Still in Cameroon, ahead of the 2025 presidential elections, the Voice newspaper features a statement by the President of the National Communication Council emphasizing the crucial role of the media in the elections. 𝐆𝐋𝐎�𝐿𝐋 𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒 emphasized that the media is crucial for peaceful elections. You can see the full interview on page 6 of today's edition of the Voice newspaper. Away from Cameroon, now let's go to Nigeria. Most newspapers this morning are focusing on the tax reform of Parliament. First news titles: Tax Reform Divide, Presidency Rejects Regional Bias Accusations, Northern Governors Unite Against Proposals. The paper goes further to say Senator O.G. Kalu calls for broader consultation. Meanwhile, the Punch newspaper on the same subject titles Tax Reform, PDP and other senators urge talks as presidency defends bills, particularly Senators Opeyemi, Dixon, Kalu and other representatives back bills. Opposition parties on their part warn the federal government against using force. You can read more on page 2 of today's The Punch newspaper. And now let's go to Kenya with the Standard newspaper. The Standard newspaper this morning is focusing on Parliament as it says members of Parliament grew power buses over high electricity bills. The paper says a parliamentary committee wants nearly the entire energy sector investigated for pushing power costs to being the highest on the continent, which turned away investors and worsened Kenyans' livelihood. Page 25 of this edition of the Standard newspaper has the details. Still in Kenya, Daily Nation newspaper makes a shocking revelation from former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The paper says the former Deputy President revealed that with time he will expose Ruto to Kenyans. Rigathi Gachagua on Sunday night declared he will be exposing President William Ruto to Kenyans, insisting that their falling out was due to his stand against the government's unpopular policies. You can find out more on page 7 of the Daily Nation newspaper. Let's end this review this morning with the New Times newspaper in Rwanda. The New Times newspaper says digitalization is transforming trade in Africa. Rwandan Prime Minister Ngirente highlights the need for digital technologies to boost trade. This was during the opening of the Africa Trade Development Forum in Kigali on Monday, the 2nd of December. Addressing the two-day conference, the Prime Minister of Rwanda highlighted the need for digital and tech investments to boost Africa's trade and economic growth. The full story is found on page 2 of today's edition of the New Times newspaper. We have come to the end of this edition of the African Press Review. Keep watching programs on Global L Television.